Welcome to the first episode of NBA Podcast, and today we're going to be talking about Toronto Raptors and other NBA related news. As I am here bringing you the first episode, I'm excited. It's going to be a new installment to my YouTube channel, and I'm very, very excited to bring you a weekly podcast for you guys. And as I'm doing this commentary, we have some breaking news. It's just crazy. Basically, Chris Paul is traded to LA Clippers for Chris Kaman, Alfred Camino, Eric Gordon, and 2012 first round draft pick from Minnesota Timberwolves that was basically owned by Clippers, and it is unprotected. So I don't think even if Minnesota misses the playoffs, they will still own the pick. So Hornets get something in return. They were trying to get Eric Bledsoe, but Clippers did not agree. So basically, at this point, Hornets were kind of disadvantaged because they knew Chris Paul wasn't going to be around, so they had to trade him. And basically, Lakers and Clippers were just bidding on lowest price, I guess, and trying to drive the price down. And I guess Hornets, they really couldn't do anything else, so they had to accept that trade. And so Clippers are going to be an amazing team next year. They have Blake Griffin, they have Chris Paul. Now they have Chauncey Billups. I don't know what's going to happen with Chauncey Billups. And who else we have there? DeAndre Jordan re-signed with Clippers, which is another big acquisition for them. So they pretty much have 4 out of 5 starters, I guess, in their squad. They still need to improve, but overall they're looking good. Oh, and obviously acquisition of Caron Butler. How can I forget? But Clippers, they might just make playoffs. Phoenix, Denver, they're not looking good this year. And I think Clippers are definitely a contender to make the playoffs. And definitely they are a scary team with Chris Paul and Blake Griffin. And Caron Butler is a nice addition with DeAndre Jordan. But those are the breaking news for you guys. So let's get into the Toronto news. And Toronto offseason has been rather quiet this year. Understandably so, because we are rebuilding this year. We're not really trying to get a key free agent this year because we are trying to develop our players. We're trying to clear up the space, cap space for next year. We're going to have a lot of cap space next year to sign good players, but this year we're just trying to take it slow and trying to develop our young players like Ed Davis, DeMar DeRozan, Jared Bayless, and I guess you can count Bargnani, even though he has been in the league for quite a few years now. So not a lot to expect from Toronto Raptors, but there were some key acquisitions this year for us in order to get to that point for next year. So first signing of the season was Jamal Magloire, and the reason we signed him is because, first of all, his career is almost done, and he wanted to finish his career at home in Canada. He's the first Canadian-born player to play for Toronto Raptors, so a bit of a history there. If you guys ever have a trivia question, basically, Jamal Magloire is the first Canadian to play on Toronto Raptors. Really excited to be in the Toronto, obviously. He grew up in Scarborough, very close to Toronto, and definitely looking forward what he's going to produce this year. And really, not a lot to expect from him. All he's going to do probably is give leadership to our young players and try to develop them. And I don't know how much you believe into veterans developing players, but we signed quite a few veterans on our team. We signed Anthony Carter, who was a free agent, and apparently he has a good relationship with Dwayne Casey, our head coach, and basically what he told him, you can come over to Toronto and I'll help you to get into coaching, because I think Anthony Carter is very interested into coaching, and that's why he came over to Toronto. Another player is Russell Butler, and the reason we signed him is because we needed a shooter, perimeter shooter, and Russell Butler gives us that, and also he's an okay defender, so that's a good signing in my opinion. Although the reason we got Russell Butler is because we couldn't complete the trade with Phoenix Suns for Michael Pietrus, and the trade was trading second-round draft pick from Toronto to Phoenix in exchange for Michael Pietrus, and the reason it didn't go through is because Michael Pietrus failed to pass his medical test because he had a fracture in his knee which hasn't healed, so basically that's why we didn't trade for Michael Pietrus. We might revisit the trade in 2 weeks or a month or so, basically when the season starts or closer to trade deadline. but don't count on it. Maybe it'll go through. I don't even know, but Michael Pietrus should have been on the Raptors, and the reason he didn't is because he failed the medical, I guess, test, and now we have Gary Forbes, who actually signed a 2-year deal with 1-year team option, so in total of 3 years with the Toronto Raptors. And I believe the Denver had until December 14th to match the offer, and I don't think they did. So I think Gary Forbes is officially on the Raptors. I'm not too sure yet. The obviously the news haven't been released yet, and that's the reason we're getting Gary Forbes. Is basically we wanted to have Michael Pietrus and Gary Forbes at small forward. Linus Kleza is injured and might miss a month or two. And then we have James Johnson, and who are we kidding? James Johnson is not a great small forward. I don't have any hope for him, and I don't think he even belongs to NBA. I mean, he's a great player, don't get me wrong, but I don't think his skill is up to par in being NBA. He almost got caught by Chicago Bulls when he was in D-League, which was really disappointing to see. A first-round draft pick, a 30th pick, traded away for James Johnson in the middle of the season. I know Raptor fans, you guys remember that. We could have gotten Corey Joseph instead and have a third string point guard. It would have been a better option in my opinion, but what can you do? We have James Johnson on our roster, and to be honest, I don't think he's going to do much. I think he's going to lose his starting job to Gary Forbes because I think he's a better prospect, and I'm excited to see what Gary Forbes is going to do on our team. And obviously, once Linus Kleza returns, he's going to be our bench player. So I think James Johnson, I mean, he has his days numbered. I don't think he's going to stay on the team for too long. And to be quite honest, I don't have much hope for him. And moving on to I guess, my expectations for this season. And I predict somewhere between 15 to 20 wins for the Raptors. And we're going to end up in the lottery top 5 picks. And hopefully we can get someone like Harrison Barnes to help out our team, or maybe Austin Rivers, depending on what, I guess, direction team wants to go. Because to be quite honest, I don't think Jared Bayless is a starting caliber point guard. At this point, he hasn't proven anything. And I think Jose Calderon is a great point guard and a great veteran, but he's not a starter again. His defense is just horrible to be a starter or everyday starter. And I think Jared Bayless or Jose cannot be a starter, so maybe Austin Rivers won't be a bad option. And then we have a big hole, and hopefully Gary Forbes will fill that. But right now we have a big hole at 3 because we haven't seen Gary Forbes play on the Raptors, so you can't really make an assumption yet. But Harrison Barnes doesn't look that bad as well in the next draft, and hopefully we can get one of those two guys, maybe someone else, some other point guards, maybe Mike Kabongo. That would be funny, but let's see what's going to happen. And this season is huge. I mean, for some players it's very big. For players like Leandro Barbosa, who has expiring contract and probably going to be traded by the trade deadline. And the reason is because a lot of playoff teams want to make that final push and they want to stack up their bench. And Barbosa is a nice option to have coming off the bench and trying to score. So I think Barbosa might be traded at the trade deadline for possibly some draft picks and some scrub and maybe even trade exception, but we'll have to see. And I don't think Barbosa is going to stay on the team. And obviously it's a huge season for Jared Bayless, I think, because he has an expiring contract, so he's basically playing for his position and for his job, I guess. And then we also have, who else we have? We have Jose Calderon, who has 2 years left on his contract, so one more after this season. So he's going to have to try to play. And to be honest, I don't expect anything different from Jose, because he's a great point guard. He does a great job assisting, but I'm just curious how he's going to play on defense under Dwayne Casey's, I guess, defensive schemes. It's going to be interesting to see. And Andrea Bargnani, a lot of people saying that we should trade Bargnani, but I think we should give him one more year. I think he deserves one more year to prove, and let's see how he's going to do. I know a lot of Raptor fans hate Bargnani, but what can you do? We have him. Let's just make best of it. And the final transaction was Aaron Gray for 1 year contract, and he's going to be our backup or possibly starting center. I don't see him starting though, because I think Amir Johnson and Ed Davis have a lot more to offer. So I think Aaron Gray is going to play some extended minutes, and the reason we got Aaron Gray is because he's fairly young. He hasn't really proven himself in the NBA, and I think with the Raptors, he's going to get that chance. But that basically wraps up for today. I hope you guys enjoyed the first episode of the podcast. I will bring another one next week, and hope you guys enjoyed this one. Leave any thoughts on Chris Paul trade. I want to know what you guys think of that trade, and in total, what you guys think of Toronto Raptors and low expectations. Peace.